Welcome on back, everyone. What if I told you that Blazing Shield was actually an amazing skill? At first, you probably wouldn't believe me, but check this video out. I have put together a build on my Templar that uses Blazing Shield and Spike Bone Shield to give us a 17k damage shield stack on top of 45k hit points, and those shields return half the damage they take back to your attacker if they attack you in melee range. This is one heck of a powerful Brawler Templar build. It is an incredibly good counter against things like gank Nightblades, and for having so many freaking hit points, we can actually deal quite a bit of damage on this build too. I'm incredibly satisfied with this build. Honestly, I've been trying this spec for a long time, and this is the most powerful version of it that I've ever played. We've got great sustain, we've got great damage, we've got great durability, and we get to rock this signature Templar Blazing Shield like a boss. If you want to see some gameplay, check out the second half of the video, and without further ado, let's take a look at that build. So to start off, I am an Imperial on this guy, and the Imperial is the best race, I think, for this build. There's a few reasons for it. Number one, we get 2,000 health and 2,000 stamina. Both we desperately need for this build. Number two, Imperial gets a 3% cost reduction across the board, and on top of it, we get resource back when we deal direct damage. This build returns damage even while we're defending ourselves, so Imperial is by far the best race choice for this build. Followed up by Nord is not a bad option. You could do any of the stamina races if you want to as well. Now, moving on to the max stat. 45.5k hit points, and we've got some small magicka and stamina pool. Now we have the 45k hit points simply because our damage shields scale off our hit point value. So we've stacked pretty much everything that we can into hit points outside of our offensive gear sets. Now let's take a look at the regen of this build. The regen is not half bad. Honestly, when we fully buff up, we've got quite a bit of stamina recovery, 2,451, 1,370 magicka, and 1,080 health recovery. We don't have the biggest stat pools to work with, so having higher regen values will definitely help us use these smaller stat pools. We can get away with this. This build actually functions quite well on this amount of regen. I don't feel like we need any more sustain than we have, and you could add more if you wanted to, but I wouldn't really recommend it because we want to maintain the amount of damage that we have on this build. Now moving on to the weapon damage, when we fully buff up on this bad boy with our roll, we've got 4,134 weapon damage with, of course, the infused Resto Staff poke. So fully buffed, we've got 4,800 weapon damage. Balorg on top of it will allow us to push over 5k weapon damage depending on how much ultimate we use. And lastly, we have got the Markarth band on, mixed with about 25k physical penetration when we're looking at the high end of our penetration. So we've actually got quite a bit of offensive potential on this build. We don't need any weapon crit because, of course, we have the Markarth band. And the Markarth band will not only increase the damage that we do with our attacks, but it will also increase the amount of damage that our shields return to our attackers. Now here comes the physical and spell resistance of the fake tank. It's not super high, 24k spell resist, 23.5k physical resist, and 2,557 crit resist. We are in medium armor, we've got 5 medium, 1 light, 1 heavy, so we don't have super high resist values, and like I said, we are wearing all damage sets underneath here. So yeah, we don't have a ton of resist. This actually works out a little bit in our favor though, because if our shields break faster, we can essentially deal more burst to our target. Not necessarily the best to have a squishier shield, but when we got a 17k damage stack and the 45k HP, we can definitely get away with having these smaller resistance values. Now taking a look at the Mundus, I have gone with the Lord Mundus. This, I think, is the best option. Just having that high hit point value gives you a better defense on this build, giving you better damage reflect, giving you better opportunity to turn and burn your attacker. You could always go for the Lover here or even the Warrior if you want to have a little bit more base weapon damage. But at the end of the day, I do think it's best to just stack health here because we've got quite a lot of damage coming out of other areas in our build. Now, taking a look at the food, we've got the smoked bear haunch. This is going to give us max health and, of course, all of our recoveries. The Orzorga smoked bear haunch is by far the best food for this build. You honestly can't go better than this because we need everything that this offers. And then for the potion, we, of course, are running the Essence of Health. This is pretty much best in slot potion, I think, during the new patch. 40% increase to all of our recoveries. That's why we can play this build, and it works so well now. Everybody has better sustain in this patch, which means that buildcraft is opened up a little bit more if you want to try these kind of niche builds like a Blazing Shield Templar. Nonetheless, this is going to give us a ton of resource sustain. Now, let's take a look at the gear we're running on this bad boy. The first set we have, of course, is Balorgh. This is a fantastic set for any PvP build, especially a build like the one we're running here where we don't have a huge amount of damage. We've got a pretty decent amount of damage on this build, but Balorgh allows us to push that extra bit of damage and, of course, physical penetration, which will allow us to kill other similarly tanky targets. Now, moving on to the next set, we have got the Air set on our back bar. There's a few reasons I picked the Air set. The first big reason is that we don't have any weapon crit in this set. We are playing a Markarth band build, so I didn't want any weapon crit in my gear set choices simply because that's kind of a wasted slot. So here we've got stam recovery, and then on the 5-piece we get stamina recovery and 391 weapon and spell damage when we roll. That additional weapon damage on roll is super nice because it allows us to add more damage to our combo on demand. We're in medium armor and we're playing a damage shield build. Rolling is a great mixed defense with our damage shields. It makes us very hard to kill as long as we have an active defense up like that. And so getting that little bit of additional weapon damage when we do our roll will help us for our offense and our healing. Now, the stamina recovery is super nice. I mean, just having a little bit more sustain on your back bar, especially since we have a resto staff back bar for that heavy attack, is going to be really helpful. Now, on our front bar, we have got a 5-piece stuns, and we swap between these two sets when we weapon swap. Stuns was picked, of course, because of that massive amount of physical and spell penetration that it gives when you deal damage to an off-balance opponent. Our primary stun for the build is going to be Toppling Charge. We do have a lot of magicka to work with, so we can use that as the primary stun, and it gives us really easy access to setting opponents off balance and proccing the stun set. So we can pretty much keep this set up 100% of the time while we're fighting outnumbered, and if we're fighting a one-on-one, we will have a very high uptime on the set as well. The fact that it gives us spell penetration is also kind of nice because it will increase our Blazing Shield damage too. Now, moving on to the next set, we have the Band of Markarth. Now, the Markarth band, you guys know why it's here. 25% damage increase. We're not playing a crit build, so this is very beneficial to our chosen damage type. And then, of course, this will increase the damage return of our Blazing Shield and our Spiked Bone Shield. This is why our damage return becomes so deadly on this build, and why it allows us to turn and burn targets after they've tried to attack us, and we successfully defended with our shields. Markarth band seriously brings this build together. If you guys don't have this item, you'll be hard-pressed to have this build perform as well as it does with the band. Now, moving on to the final set here, we have got the Trainee. A single one-piece Trainee for that maximum health that it gives. We are playing a max health build, so you can't go wrong with stacking a little bit max health in our last kind of open slot here. Now, taking a look at the traits on this build, starting off on the Resto Staff, we've got Infused with the Weapon Spell Damage enchant. This is to give us a little bit more additional damage with our Resto Poke. Of course, we got the Roll Dodge back here too, so we can buff up a lot of weapon damage on our back bar just by using our abilities correctly. And of course, that Resto Staff was chosen to give us additional magicka recovery and access to major mending off that heavy attack if we need it. And last but not least, we are using the Resto Ultimate. Now, on our front bar, we have got the Sharpened Maul. Simply put, Sharpened Maul is going to be the best damage output out of any of our options here that we could have gone for, so that's why we picked it. The fact that we have a mostly shield-based defense means that we don't need to worry too much about Nirnhoned and stuff here, because our healing power isn't as important because we have those massive damage shields. So Sharpened is definitely the option you want to go for here. I went with the Disease enchant simply because that additional damage and then that bit of healing debuff. Because this build can apply a lot of pressure, it has good burst, but I think its strength is definitely its ability to just apply a lot of pressure. Having that Disease enchant for that healing debuff is going to be the best option. You could always run a poison here if you want of your choice. It's kind of just up to the user. Now for the jewelry, I've gone with full triune and the weapon damage enchant. This is an absolute must, I think, to go for the triune because we need all the max stat that we can, not only for our blazing shield and our spiked bone shield, but also just for our other pools to make the build playable. So triune was the best of both worlds. We get a little bit of damage going with this, we get the hit points, and we get that off magicka. And of course, everything is enchanted with weapon damage here. Now, if you guys want to play this build in the no CP campaign, your stat pools will be very small. That being said, you can get away with playing it, but you might need to add a little bit of additional recovery in your glyphs here. And then taking a look at the gear, we've actually got a mix of infused and well-fitted. Infused on our big pieces to give us even more max stat from those tri-stat enchants, and then well-fitted for that roll dodge cost reduction, synergizing well with our air staff on the back bar and our choice of 5 medium armor. Now, we have also got the tri-stat Hacky Joe glyphs on everything. Again, a must to have these glyphs on this build. We need all of the max stat that we can get. So let's take a look at the skills we're running on this bad boy. Starting off on our front bar, the first ability we have is the Templar's mainstay biting jabs. This is our primary damage dealer for the build, and man, does it deal a lot of damage on this build. Honestly, jabs is a very strong skill for PvP. We get the snare on it as well, and we get the major savagery. Not a huge deal for our damage, but that is kind of nice for our healing after we've been jabbing people. Against players with the Markarth band, each of your jab ticks can hit over 2k if you're penetrating a majority of their armor. And then finally, we'll get the guaranteed Burning Light proc at the end. So this build, with the Burning Light included, you can expect to hit 6 to 9k or so jabs on players. Not too shabby, I think, for how many hit points we have. Now, moving on to the next skill, we have got Toppling Charge. This is the primary stun for the build, and of course, it sets the opponent off balance, giving us easy access to proccing our stun's favor on the front bar. Definitely the way we want to go. The next skill we have here is Race Against Time. This is really the flex spot for this build. I like Race Against Time because I really value the mobility and the snare removal. Without this, we don't have Major Expedition. We do kind of have snare removal with Purge, but we essentially will be a lot slower than if we had Race Against Time. Again, it's up to the user here. The Gap Closer allows us to remain pretty offensive even without our Major Expedition. If you want, I would actually recommend running the Greatsword Execute, either the AoE or single target one, whichever one you prefer, instead of this ability, especially if you're playing in a group and you have access to some of these buffs from some of your friendly group members. Now, the next ability we have is Rally. This is our primary burst heal for the build. It's not going to be an insanely strong heal. We're not stacking massively into weapon damage and max damage, so our heals are a little bit weaker than they would be if we had built that route. That being said, we are again using damage shields as our primary defense, and Rally not only gives us that burst heal, but on top of it, we will get the Major Brutality buff and the Minor Endurance buff for a ton of additional stat on this build. Really important, just utility skill, I think. And finally, we have got Vigor here, and having the mix of Rally and Vigor, I think, is a must-have for this build, simply because our hit points are so high. We can take a lot of damage, so we can heal away a lot of that damage at pretty much any time. I mean, we have a big leeway of about 20k hit points where we are okay to take damage before we really need to worry about healing ourselves. That means that we're going to get a lot of work out of a heal like Vigor, mix this heal over time with our damage shields, and we've got a really strong passive defense as well, allowing us to just tank single or even 2 players at a time very easily just by rotating these skills. Now, the next ability we have is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. This is the primary offensive ultimate for the build. I'll buff up a little bit so you guys can see. Only a 13.3k tooltip, nothing too crazy. That being said, the dot on this is pretty savage. Mix it in with the jabs and the AoE stun that it provides, and we can actually cause some hurt. The Blazing Shield explosion on top, yeah, it's a lot more than you would expect, and I quite enjoyed using Dawnbreaker on this build. Now, you can use a different ultimate here if you want, but I think the stun off Dawnbreaker of Smiting is probably the best bet, because after we use the smiting, we do need to do some poking with our jabs too. So stunning everyone around us just allows us to land that combo a little bit more cleanly. A little bit of passive weapon damage for slotting this bad boy too. Now, taking a look at the back bar, the first skill we have is Power of the Light. We have a very low max stam pool, and Power of the Light scales exclusively off your max stam pool. So our Power of the Light will not deal a ton of damage on this build, only 10k tooltip on it. That being said, it is still 10k delayed burst damage, and that mixed with the rest of our damage gives us the ability to close kills easier. So it's a very important skill that we need to have here. And then Minor Breach got a big buff this patch, so 3000 physical penetration when we use this on the target, just allowing all of our other abilities to do more damage. And we get the spell resistance debuff too, so our Blazing Shield will even do more damage if we throw this on someone too. Now, the next skill we've got is Spiked Bone Shield, and this is your first of your 2 hit point based damage shields. This is the stamina shield that we use, and it will return up to 100% of the direct damage absorbed back to any melee attacker. It's a good shield. Honestly, this mixed with our Blazing Shield gives us the 17k damage shield stack, and it gives us a lot of damage return back to the attacker. So if an opponent will break both of these shields on top of themselves, they can easily return 8k plus damage to themselves. Yeah, good stuff. Now, the next ability we have is the counterpart to our Spike Bone Shield, and that is the Magicka Dump Blazing Shield. Blazing Shield functions a little bit differently. It doesn't return direct damage. Instead, it will return 37% of the damage it takes to everybody around you. So it gives you a nice big AoE blast. That can be super useful because AoEs are also unblockable and undodgeable, meaning that the Blazing Shield can actually chunk people for a decent amount of damage even if they try to defend against it. I really like the AoE of it too, because if you have a lot of opponents jump on you and you break a few Blazing Shields on them, with the Markarth band, you can return quite a lot of damage to them. On this build, you should definitely try to keep both these shields up pretty much at all times, so that whenever someone attacks you, you can quickly turn and use them not only to defend yourself from those attacks, but offensively against the target as well. Now, the next skill that we have is Extended Ritual. This is a very important skill for this build. We need to purge negative effects so bad in PvP, especially in this patch. There are dots everywhere. There are so many harmful effects. So yeah, having Purge, especially on the Templar, having the best Purge in the game, a must-have. Now, the heal over time on this is also very important. Due to the chunky nature of this build, we can hold our circle pretty freaking well. So we can just stand inside of this heal, and this mixed with our Vigor heal, plus keeping our shields up, actually gives us a great passive defense that most people will have quite a bit of difficulty chewing through. And finally, we get that little bit of synergy for our allies. They can activate it and remove all the negative effects from themselves. Now, the next skill we have is Restoring Focus. This is, of course, access to our armor buff. We also get 240 stamina every 1 second while we have this up. Very important for our sustain. We get an additional bit of armor if we're standing in the rune, so giving us a little bit more hold our bubble capabilities. And then last but not least, while we're blocking, the stamina return will continue as well, so that's nice too. And then finally, for the ultimate on the back bar, we have got Life Giver. And I chose the Resto Staff ultimate because I thought, hey, what would be the best ultimate to use on a build that has 45k hit points and 17k damage shields? Resto Staff ultimate. And I didn't regret it one bit. Honestly, I really like how this functions for this build, because if you are low resource and really low hit points and you pop the Resto Staff ultimate and you get that healing off of it, get your Purge down and maybe a Vigor off, you can shoot right up to full health, get a Resto Heavy off, and just come right back into the fight. It really just gives us the ability to reset if we find ourselves in a really bad spot. And the fact that we have so many hit points, again, a big plus for an ultimate like this, because we will get pretty much all the healing power out of it when we use it. All right, let's take a look at the champion points. Starting off in the Warlord, we've got 40 points and then 2 in Sprinter. Big focus on Warlord because, of course, we have to break free in PvP. Little bit of sprinting, we got a lot of medium armor, so not the biggest deal. I mostly just had points left over. Now, moving on to the Lover Tree, we have got a lot of points here. Big focus on Mooncalf, stamina recovery, very, very important for this build. Arcanist, also super important to have Magicka recovery, and then a little bit in Healthy. I mean, that almost 1100 health recovery comes in real handy. It is additional healing on the build, so definitely something that we don't want to overlook. I have 0 points in Tenacity. The reason I didn't put any points here is because we actually don't need to heavy attack very often, if at all, during the course of a fight. If you want to heavy attack, it can restore a lot of Magicka with the Resto Staff already, and on top of it, we get the other bonuses like the Mending that the Resto Staff offers. So yeah, I didn't really see the point in putting stuff here because our regen was so good already. The important passive we get, of course, is Wind Running, a little bit more additional movement speed, and we get a little bit more health and magicka recovery when we sprint too. Now, taking a look at the Shadow Tree, we got 44 Tumbling and 44 in Shadow Ward. A nice even split here. We have to roll and we have to block in PvP. We got a lot of well fitted on, so our roll is already very cheap too. In the Apprentice, we've got nothing. Moving on to the Atronach, I've got 81 Mastered Arms with 39 Physical Weapon Expert. You could put some points in Shattering Blows if you want here instead of Physical Weapon Expert, but I always like having it here for those big Greatsword light and heavy attacks. The Tactician passive is the important one that we get. Now, we don't necessarily need this because we have easy access to off balance through our stun. That being said, when we are defending ourselves, this will increase the damage of our Blazing Shield because we'll be dodging attacks, opponents will jump on top of us, our shields will explode on them, and that will deal more damage because they're off balance. So it is really nice from a defensive perspective, if not the offensive option that it also offers. Now, moving on to the Ritual Tree, we've got 75 in Mighty and 75 in Piercing. Big focus on these two. Nothing Precise Strikes, nothing Thaum. We don't have any dots outside of the ultimate. And of course, we can't crit. Last Stand, such a good passive. When we fall below 20% health, we'll gain Major Heroism. We got lots of HP, so we can fall below that health value and come back from it. And then finally, we also get Exploiter for that 10% additional damage against an off-balance opponent. That's going to increase everything, including those beautiful Blazing Shields. Now, moving on to the Steed, we've got 51 Ironclad, 50 Resistant, 30 in Medium Armor Focus, and 10 in Spell Shield. Big focus on reducing the direct damage that we take, of course, always a good idea for PvP. And then we've got a little bit more in Medium Armor than Spell Shield, simply because Templar has a little bit more spell resist than it does physical resist, so I decided to stack a little bit more there. In the Lady, we've got 23 Elemental and 23 in Hardy. Not a lot of points here, and the reason this one is a little bit sparse is, of course, because we've got a whopping 72 in Bastion in the Lord for that 23% additional damage shield. And then 11 in Quick Recovery for a little bit of healing. Now, the reasoning of going for so many points in Bastion is not only for the defensive capability that the shield offers, but the more points we put here, the more damage our shields will deal back to the target as well. And that is the build, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into that PvP commentary. Starting us off is a little bit of a 2vx here with my good friend, and there's a bunch of blue players that rush onto the resource here, and I stand out in front with my shields up, just trying to attract a bit of attention, go for the gap closer there, and we end up picking up on, I think, this Sork here as he's streaking. I give him a poke right away with the jabs, and we managed to bring that guy down, quickly go for a Blazing Shield again, and there you see just a casual 6k Blazing Shield smack to finish that guy off. Blazing Shield, a fantastic defensive and offensive utility on this build, and we're just going to keep the jab pressure on the next target here as my friend here on his Sork is trying to go for that execute there. He unfortunately doesn't get it in time. The enemy player healing up. I go for the Dawnbreaker, not getting a stun, but we do have the bonus damage from the Balorg set, so we just gap close on top, go for the jabs, and we bring the next blue player down right away, jumping on top of this guy here. I get a good stun there right away into some jab pressure, and my friend throws the execute down. We bring him down as well, and it looks like one of the blue players ended up scurrying off there. And we've got the last guy left here. He's got a lot of hit points as well, but we're going to put the pressure in nonetheless. And honestly, this build has great sustained damage, even against a target that has a lot of hit points. Unless they have the healing power to match, we can definitely wear and tear them down. Now we've got another player coming in here. Actually, reinforcements coming from the castle here. A lot of them respawned. And we just quickly go for the gap close on top of that Sork. Managed to get the stun into the poke. And my friend just giving him the execute to finish him off again there. And we're just going to back it up as more blue players come onto the resource here. We have no guards left as well. I jump on top of the werewolf there, get a stun into the jabs. He's got some bulk to him, so I just head back here. Just going to reset my buffs. We've got our shields up and everything. And I drop the Dawnbreaker just to give my friend some safety as he goes into the keep there. And the blue player's just going for pressure. Jordan just getting good pressure into that first player, bringing him down. And I go for the next player there, putting good pressure, and he follows up with that execute. Good stun on this guy here into the jabs. And there you guys can see it. We can actually put out quite a bit of hurt on this build, even though we've got that 45k hit point value. There you see a beautiful combo on that guy there into the jabs. Quite a lot of damage again on that player. And now it looks like we've got one stray yellow coming into the fight. And me and my friend here, we're just picking off as many guys as we can. Go for another bit of the jab treatment on that guy there. You see the jab damage coming in at almost up to 2k damage per jab poke. 2k if we hit someone really squishy. And 4 pokes, that's an 8k jab with a guaranteed burning light proc of about 3k. So we can do quite a lot of damage. And there you see again, when we catch him with that off balance stun, get right into that jab pressure and the blazing shield exploding on top of everything too. All in all, though, I am quite satisfied with the offensive potential of this build, and I really like this fight here because I didn't feel like we were lacking any firepower at all, and the synchronized firepower with the two of us together just meant that no one was safe from us if we wanted to put the pressure on. And there you see I got caught a little bit far out by the sniper there, and I'm just going to kind of waltz my way in here, keeping those shields up as I come in, and this guy's just giving me the dizzy swing business, still taking quite a bit of damage from these guys. Really low health here. Definitely should have gone for that resto ult a little bit earlier, but we managed to squeeze it out, and Jordan throws down the negate. We go for some jab pressure, managing to bring a player down, but I definitely should have opted to use the shields instead of going for so much offensive pressure with the jabs. We get torn apart by the enemy ultimate there, and down we go. Now, for the next fight here, I actually have a series of kind of 1v1s and 2v1s that I wanted to show you guys, just because I really liked how this build looked in especially these smaller scale fights. So here you can see I was fighting these two Templars, and the other Templar backs off, and he's going to give me a little bit of a 1v1 against this other Plar there. So I just go reset my buffs here, throw my rally down as well. This guy's going for the Radiant Destruction at 40k HP. Not really the best hit point threshold to do it. That being said, we're just going to go for that defensive shield stack, and there you can see we actually chunk his hit points pretty well just from defending against his combo there. And right as we're about to finish that guy off, this other Templar tries to interrupt with the stun. We managed to get the finish there, and then look at this huge explosion with the ultimate on this guy. We brought him down to about 8k health with that combo. The blazing shield again being a huge part of the combo, and just look at how much damage he is taking from attacking us here. It's keeping his hit points at about that 60% health value, and we catch him with a really nasty burning light on the end of the spears there, and we bring him down as well. So just a lot of damage coming out of this build because we can turn our opponent's offense back into damage on top of them. And now we've got another fight, a stamina sword coming up here. He jumps on top of us. I quickly hit him with the toppling charge. He does not break the stun right away. I don't think he expected us to do the damage that we did, and that was a mistake. He could not come back from that, and right away we've got two Nightblades jumping on top of us, and I'm gonna go for the toppling charge into this guy here. We're a little bit lower on Magicka. Go for that potion chug and just reset the shields here. This build excels quite well against Nightblades, especially if they're gonna fight you in melee distance. And this guy here, he's just trying to get away now. He finds himself, I think, just a little low on stamina, unable to break this stun. And I'm just going to keep putting the jabs into him. He's actually got a decent amount of bulk. We're not hitting him super hard with those jabs. That being said, we hit him with the Dawnbreaker there. He didn't heal up to escape that. And we managed to take that one home. And finally, for our last fight here, I just wanted to show off the defenses of this build. Now, that's something that is a little bit strange, is that we have a ton of hit points and we can be tanky. We're definitely tankier than kind of the more standard stamina Templar. However, it's not like we are insanely tanky. We're in medium armor and we're running damage sets. So as long as we keep our damage shields up, the defense of this build that I think makes it strong is the fact that we can not only defend ourselves, but return a pretty meaty amount of damage while we do it. So in this fight here, we are just defending ourselves as best as we can against the onslaught of blues coming in this keep. There's a few other EP here with me and my friend, and yeah, they're just slowly getting picked off here. And we're just biding our time, trying not to attract too many blues in one go. We find this guy here. I just quickly throw the dot up on him, trying to go for a little bit of pressure, but we don't want to commit to anything. There we see all the blue players just come charging through. I drop down. My friend, oh man, he unfortunately got hit by the front end of that train. and now we are alone with all of these blue players here. So we are in medium armor, so kiting is definitely an important part of our survival. If we can incorporate that in our play, we managed to get the res on him there, good stuff, then it will help us stay alive. So once we go for the little bit of a roll to the top of the staircase, I go for the Dawnbreaker, trying to just get a bit of a defensive stun to help my friend out there. And I yell at him. He's got to drop off the edge here. Two of the players follow me off the edge. I think he actually just streaked to the other tower, so he's a little bit safer than I am, but that's okay. We got the Blazing Shield here, and you guys can see right here just that chip damage from the Blazing Shield. It's not a lot of damage, but because they are actively attacking us and not defending themselves, it wears them a little bit over time, and that's really our opportunity to get kills, especially if we're outnumbered with this build. We want to just follow those Blazing Shield combos with things like strong, well-timed ultimates. So here you can see we're just doing our best to play around the corners here, try to get these guys piled up. I've got a potion coming up soon. We're looking really low on resource, and I'm forced to use my resto ultimate there. I think we might have been able to get away with kiting a little bit and waiting for that next potion. However, we did go for the resto ult, and the blue players just continuing to apply pressure to us here. And I again find an opportunity to turn on this Nightblade here. Remember what I said about those stamina Nightblades. When we have both our shields up, they can chunk themselves for well over 8k damage when they attack us. So that's going to be very beneficial when trying to turn and burn on these guys. However, there's just a lot of blue. At this point in the fight, we're just doing our best to try to stay alive and keep the numbers not too piled up on us if we can help it. I go for the Dawnbreaker there and just take a huge amount of damage as those guys come around the corner. And my friend comes around the corner and throws the healing ward down as he needs it. Unfortunately, I had lower hit points than him, so I stole his healing ward there, and I managed to survive, and he's going to go down. And wow, we got them all chasing me around the corner. It looks like 5 or 6 of the blue players left on top of me here. And we're just going to keep rotating those shields. Very important that we keep those shields up. Even if we're not going to turn and burn them, the fact that we do the chip damage means that these guys are going to have to do something else other than just attack me throughout this whole fight. Even if they have to turn around and heal themselves or take a step so that they don't get in a bad position when they're low hit points. That's exactly what we want. And here you can see we're just keeping those shields up and just trying to kite these guys out. I get a nice bounce off that stun, just putting me up on the platform there, and I roll back down. Lots of directional movement, even on a chunkier build like this. When we're facing a lot of opponents, we want to make sure we're using everything that we can. And being in medium armor, speed, very important. There you see we're going for that resto ultimate. I try to go for a bit of pressure with the resto ult there. Unfortunately, just not really doing much at all. I think I definitely should have gone for the Dawnbreaker if I wanted to actually put some hurt into the group. The AoE stun would have been the answer there. And we're just doing our best to just kind of keep the pressure up on these guys. I actually get a nice little bit of jab damage in there. But unfortunately, it's just something that I won't be able to really turn and burn without the ultimate. And these guys are just staying on top of me. Now we're running a little bit lower on hit points. We do have some healing power, but if we don't have our resto ult there, we get it just in time. We don't have a massive amount of healing power, so we got to have that resto ult up if we're taking a lot of pressure and our hit points drop really low. There you see it finally, or it does manage to get the save on us, and these guys are just going to keep pressuring us, just keeping that Blazing Shield and that Bone Shield going. There you see the chip damage just working on them a little bit more, and they're just having to reset their heals and buffs, and it doesn't seem like it's going to make a massive difference, but it buys you that 1 extra second so that you can cast the heal yourself or cast the damage shield. Take a really bad fall there. Something I do want to note about this build is that you have a ton of hit points and fall damage scales off a percentage of your hit points. But we managed to get a nice kite on them. Look at this. We got some yellow flying in here too. Managed to just kind of survive long enough to get the res off on our friend again. And right away, go for that turn and burn. Look at the beautiful damage. We actually managed to kill somebody there pretty independently. Our friend was just trying to heal himself up. And I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of the fight here as we say our goodbyes. If you guys want to send in clips for the top 5, send them to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. Check out all my links there, my website for written guides, my Twitch and my Twitter to keep up to date with me, and of course catch those live streams. We're sponsored by What the Fast, a VPN for gamers. They can give you better ping to your favorite games. Free to try for the first month via the link in the description below, so be sure to check that out. And last but not least, a big thank you and a massive shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys for helping me keep this job going. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do it, so I appreciate it so much. Thank you everybody just for tuning in and watching today. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, everyone.